I first met Janine when I was an undergraduate here at the Institute for Women's Leadership in their first class of undergraduate scholars. And it was back in 1999. And I attended an event focused on what was then a very controversial issue of syringe exchange programs. And Janine opened the event. And after stepping up on a stool to make sure that everyone could see her, which is one of her moves, she set the stage for the discussion by sharing her very personal story of losing her stepson to AIDS at the age of 25. And she squarely focused this entire conversation on the individuals and families suffering from the sadness and illness of the disease, and not on the politics of the day. I would come to recognize this as Janine's signature move. With grace, honesty, kindness, and humor, she has ignited the torch for so many individuals and influenced statewide policies by sharing her story, demonstrating her strength and her courage. By the time I met her, Janine was already a trailblazer. She had orchestrated the statewide Women's Summit in 1992 that was later renamed the annual Governor's Conference for Women, drawing thousands of participants for 2 decades. Janine continued to shape and influence New Jersey from positions within government and public affairs, working for such organizations as the Barnabas Health System, Rutgers University, New Jersey's Legislative Black Caucus Foundation, and the Garden State Equality Action Fund. Janine was in the inner circle of Governor Jon Corzine's staff, but she has been a resource and informal advisor to every governor in New Jersey since Christine Todd Whitman, not to mention the many state and federal legislators, local mayors, and town council leaders that she has mentored, supported throughout the years. During the COVID pandemic, she lost her partner of 22 years, Maria, to cancer, and we began walking with a group of friends every Sunday in Mercer County Park, in snow with our masks on, and in the sun after getting vaccinated, and I think we went through a few rounds of that. We walked, supporting each other by sharing our stories of grief and joy, fear and frustration, and always finding the humor while discussing the dynamic public health policy and politics of the day. During this time, Janine created the LaRue List Cafe, bringing state and federal officials to her podcast table to discuss critical issues. She recently used this platform to launch a new initiative where she hires and pays Trenton High School students to produce her shows and learn the business. If you ever need to feel inspired, go on a walk with Janine. She is currently in leadership positions at the Zita Group, providing clients with policy and political expertise, and the recently launched Moxie strategies, and I know there's a few of you here, where she provides consulting on social impact, advertising, and corporate communications. And Janine has also begun writing her memoir because she's not that busy, and I cannot wait to read it. I am overjoyed to present the Institute for Women's Leadership Torchlighter Award to my friend and my mentor for so many years, the Honorable Jeannine Frisby LaRue.
Wow. I am going to do something that I normally don't do. I am going to read my speech because I am that overwhelmed and grateful tonight, because I am going to make my speech personal so that you understand my story. First of all, to my really, really, really good sister, Mary O'Dowd, and to my other walking partner, Jackie Cornell. Let's give her a hand. There were 5 of us who started on the journey of the walk during the pandemic. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that I had stayed in the closet as a lesbian and had lived with my partner for 22 years. And just at the time that I decided that I could come out of the closet, and she was a little nervous. She had been out all her life. She found out that she had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And for 13 months, she tried to stay in this world with us. And tomorrow is the anniversary of her death for 4 years. I want to point out, and first of all, I want you to know, I'm going to talk about some deep things in my 5 minutes. Don't think it's a sad thing. I am enjoying every part of my life. I've had an opportunity to talk with Pat, and I tell you, I look at life so differently because we're all just walking each other home. And what we've got to learn to do is to enjoy the journey because it's so much fun. And tonight, you are all a part of that. I want to point out my good friend Luann Peterfall, who is historic. The first time in the history of the New Jersey legislature, the people have elected a lesbian woman, a lesbian, to serve in our legislature. To Lisa and Rebecca and Ms. Barry and the rest of your team, I thank you for putting together something as profound as a torchlighter's ceremony. I also want to thank and congratulate all of those who I'm being honored with here today. I've had an opportunity to have amazing conversations with each and every one of you. And I guess you would probably feel the same way that I feel, is that we didn't come into this life thinking we would be a torch lighter. In fact, as I told my story to Pat, a 17-year-old girl, I was in a very poor family. I was one of those people that Abigail was talking about. I had a twin brother until this year. I buried my twin, who was a part of that journey where he is with me every day. And there's something about people in these transitions. You get to keep them in your heart all the time. And for those who don't learn to live that journey with people while they're on this side and enjoy the moments, it's sad when you lose them. I don't have that sadness because I have enjoyed the journey every step of the way with my loved ones. But at 17 years old, I found myself in a situation where I was raped by a family friend. I was a virgin, and out of that dark day came my first child. There was no Roe v. Wade. It was 1 year later that came to be. My mom was a preacher, said no abortion. My dad wouldn't give the blessings to give the child up for adoption. And I found myself having this child who I hated. I didn't want to bathe him. I didn't want to be around him. And my family said, we will help you through this. And it was through the love of my family that I learned to love a kid who I felt that I had nothing to do with. It was from that day, as I said to Pat, that I began to have a torch that other people lit for me. They gave me the courage to go on to college and to become an English teacher. They lit the torch. They helped me to keep going. They gave me the courage to now get my name on the ballot and run for office in a town where no woman, no person of color, no person under 30 had won, and at 29, I won by a landslide. They kept lighting that torch. They gave me the courage to go on to a statewide New Jersey Education Association, where again, they said, we will tap you as the first Black woman who was hired in a professional capacity. And they kept lighting the torch, And then I find myself, now at age 74, feeling very much like Gloria Steinem. People look at me sometimes when I walk in the room and they're like, Janine, why are you still working? When are you going to retire? The good news is I never thought I'd get to this point. I don't have to work anymore. When I get up in the morning, I can tell everyone I'm done and I will live just fine. But now I do it because there is so much work to do. 2 weeks ago, I have had this thing called LaRue's Cafe, the podcast that was virtual. And all of a sudden, my dream of launching the bricks and mortar, where 150 people, think about that, a room that is as full as this room, people showed up for me to launch this podcast so that young kids in the city of Trenton can learn to produce shows, and I will pay them out of my pocket. That felt real good. I am still lighting torches. And I will tell you that before it's all done, I mean, this year is such an amazing, important year in November, either way of what happens is going to be really important for women. But we have a lot of work to do. So I would hope that programs such as the Women's Leadership Institute, that you will look at the cards on your table and use that QR code and think about a little short black woman who started from nothing can stay in the room like this with people who are my idols, who I've been wanting to meet for years, and stand at a podium on the same dais as an equal and to be called the torchlighter. I thank you for that.